Welcome to today's webinar, guys. Today's webinar will be on building a Zobot using Zoho SalesIQ Scripts platform. Let's jump right into the webinar. So what is a Zobot? It is a bot development platform that's available inside SalesIQ. With this, SalesIQ users can build very compelling bots to automate customer interactions. We can program these bots to act, respond, and to qualify customers. So these robots, they maintain a conversation with the user in natural language. They understand the intent of the user, and they can send a response based on business rules and data of the organization. So remember that they can be run on both websites and on mobile applications. Like I already said, the Zobot is a bot platform on SalesIQ, and many of you are familiar with what SalesIQ is and how it works. So for those of you who are entirely new to this, let me brief you on what SalesIQ is. So if you're a business owner who's looking to convert visitors from various platforms, then Zoho SalesIQ is your go-to solution. It's a customer engagement platform that can be used to prospect, engage, convert, and retain customers for potential growth in real time. So this is basically designed for customer support, business growth, sales, marketing, customer engagement, and so much more. It's basically live chat, visitor tracking, audio calls, mobile SDKs, powerful chatbots, which is our Zobot, and hold on to just one platform. So in this webinar, we'll focus on building these Zobots using the SalesIQ Scripts platform. So in SalesIQ for your prospects, you have features like visitor tracking, you have intelligent triggers to proactively send out chat invites and do so much more. And then you have lead scoring, using which you can identify potential customers, and you also have campaign integration. And to keep these prospects engaged, you have chat conversations, which is our live chat, and you have audio calls, which is a very recent addition. And you have chatbots, which will be our point of focus today, and CRM integration. And to retain all of these customers or prospects that you have been engaging so far, you will have in-chat articles, chat routing, feedback management, help desk integration, and so much more. So this is just a small bunch of features that you can see inside SalesIQ. Once you start exploring, you'll get to look at so much more inside your portals. So let me show you two very effective and powerful demos of Zobots working on websites. One of these was built using SalesIQ Scripts, and the other one was built using Dialogflow. So I'll show you how both of these function. So this is the first Zobot. This one is capable of scheduling test drives. So it collects your name, email address, and contact number, and schedules a test drive and records it on your Google Calendar connection. So let's look at how this will work. So I've landed on the website, and since I've matched the trigger, the bot has triggered a welcome message to me and is asking me if I'd like to book a test drive. So let me just click, I would like to schedule. So it's asking me for my name, and I'm giving in my name, and then my email address. And then it's asking me for my contact number to get back to me in case of any queries, or to contact me before the test drive. And now it's asking me to share my location. So here I have used the location input card to send out my current location, or where the vehicle has to be brought for test driving. So I'm clicking on allow. The map starts loading, and using this map, you can either send out your current location, or you can type here to get a different location. So I'm just going to send my current location. It's asking me if I'd like to pick a time slot as per my convenience. Let me click on schedule and choose a date, say the 9th of August, Friday at 11:30 a.m. and click confirm. So now my appointment has been scheduled. Let's look at how this will look inside the Google Calendar. So here it is. My appointment has been scheduled along with my name, my contact number, my location, and so much more. So once the representative gets the appointment on his Google Calendar, he can directly navigate to the location right from his calendar. So manually entering the address wouldn't work as well as this. So this is just an effective way of pulling out your appointments and where they have to take test drives for to all customers. So this was the first demo. The second one, on the other hand, was built using Dialogflow. So this is more of a natural language processing bot. This one here has triggered a message saying that it can help me with questions on Zoho. So let me just begin with a basic question. So it gives me an answer. In case I try and ask this question in a different manner, let me just say I'm too lazy to type out the entire thing and I'm just saying Zoho. It'll look at the keyword, it'll match these questions with the training phrases inside the intents that have been defined, and it'll give me the same answer. So let me just ask it another question. What are the products offered okay, so it's displaying the list of products that are offered by Zoho. So in case I just say products, which is a different form of asking the same question, it's going to be displaying the same answer that it had given me for the first question. So that's how Dialogflow works using training phrases and intent. So let me tell you how chatbots function as fragments in the market. First, there's a chat user interface for user interactions on mobile or website applications where hundreds of message exchanges take place. And then there's a bot engine where the flow of the bot is defined. So you basically define all of the functionalities of the bot inside the bot engine. And then you have the customer database that you use to store all of the visitor details that you have gathered using the chat interface and the bot engine. So in Zoho SalesIQ, all of these three fragments are present under one roof. So you have a chat interface, you have bot engine, you have offerings from Zoho itself, SalesIQ Scripts and Zia Skills, and you also have extensions to external platforms like Watson, Dialogflow, and you can also use webhooks in case you already have a fully built bot engine and you want to integrate it with SalesIQ. And then you have a customer database where all of the visitor details can be recorded. So all of the visitor details collected by the Zobot will be stored inside Zoho SalesIQ. You can also use these extensions to external services like Salesforce, Zendesk, and MailChimp. So like we had discussed in the previous webinar, Zobot can be built using 5 different platforms inside Zoho SalesIQ. You have SalesIQ Scripts, Zia Skills, Dialogflow, Watson, and webhooks. So today's focus will be on building a Zobot using SalesIQ Scripts. So first I'll tell you how the flow goes. A visitor lands on the website. If this visitor matches the criteria that is set inside the Zobot, the bot triggers a message. If not, it doesn't trigger a message and the visitor must proceed to initiating a chat with the Zobot. And when the visitor sends out a message, the message handler comes into play. It checks if the context in the message exists, and if it does, it collects all of the inputs that it can find in the message. Otherwise, it will look for another message that matches the existing content. Once the message handler is successfully executed, the context handler executes. So it's basically invoked after collecting all of the necessary inputs for a particular context. So this is how the whole flow goes. So what are the steps we will be going through to bring this bot to shape? Initially, we'll configure all of the basic Zobot information, then choose platforms, we'll structure handlers, set up a connection, and push visitor details into CRM. Okay, so let's go forward to setting up the bot. So for this, you will have to go into your Zoho SalesIQ portal and you will navigate to settings, Zobot, and then click Add Bot. You'll give your bot a name and you will add a description. Following this, you will choose a website you want to deploy the bot on. And following that, you will have to choose departments for which you want the Zobot to take up chats for. It's mandatory that you choose at least one department for each website. So here there are 4 departments. I'm just going to choose to route all of the chats from Zilker accounts and support to the Zobot. Then I'll choose the visitor type. So inside the SalesIQ Scripts platform, you have something called as the trigger handler, which is where we structure the proactive chat invite that we want to send out to customers. So you need to set a criteria inside the choose visitor type section, and when the visitor who lands on the website matches the criteria that you set here, the proactive chat invite will be sent out to him. Otherwise, the proactive chat invite is not sent out. So basically, the trigger message is sent out to only those visitors who match criteria that are set inside your portal. So the default here will be set to all visitors. You can modify this at any point in time. But I don't want to filter out any of my visitors, so I'm just going to stick to this. But you have a huge list of conditions that you can choose from. You can also add multiple conditions by using or and in case you want to narrow down your filters a little bit more. And once you're done setting up the criteria, you'll click on apply. So the next one is here you can configure when you want the bot to trigger the visitors who land on your website. So this can either be when they land on your site and spend some time, or when they click on the widget or perform a custom action or initiate a chat towards your portal. So I'm going to stick to land on your site and spend more than 3 seconds because I don't want to keep them waiting. Then I'll set the working hours for the Zobot. So this can be either round the clock, during business hours, or just during non-business hours, or only when your operators are offline during business hours. Again, I'm sticking to 24/7. I want my bot to function round the clock and take up chats in case operators are not available at any point in time. And then I'll set the bot typing status. This is make the chat more interactive. So in case your visitor sends out a message and they're waiting for the bot to reply to it, they need to know that the bot is preparing an answer and it's getting it ready to send it out, right? So in that case, we will be displaying the bot typing status to the visitor as soon as he sends out a message. So I'm going to set this to immediate. And then I'm going to enable allow handoff. So inside the chat window, when visitors are in the middle of a conversation with a Zobot, in case they want to switch talking to a human operator, in case they want to talk to a human operator, they can do so by clicking on the chat with human operator option. In this case, the chat that was handled previously by the Zobot will be forwarded to all of the operators inside your organization, and one of them can pick up this chat and give it an answer. Okay. So in case you want your visitors to enjoy the privilege of chatting with a human operator in the middle of the conversation with a Zobot, you can enable allow handoff. And then would be choosing the platform, which will be SalesIQ Scripts for today. So before we jump into building the bot, let me brief you on what Deluge is. The SalesIQ Scripts is a bot building platform that uses Deluge as its online scripting language. So Deluge is Zoho's low-code online scripting language that is used for rapid application development. This is mostly adaptive software development, so there's very less talk, more action, and lots of testing. Deluge is very robust and it's easy to use because of its user-friendly syntax. It offers a drag-and-drop user interface, thus leaving out the task of remembering, Deluge syntax and functions to the user. You don't have to type in everything manually. Everything is just right there. You just have to pull it in from the left-hand side of your builder and drop it inside the main builder screen. Then there are handlers. The SalesIQ Scripts consist of 4 major handlers: trigger, message, context, and failure handlers. I'll tell you about them one by one. So first, the trigger handler. It's a piece of SalesIQ script that is used to invoke a custom action or a message by the bot when the visitors visit your website. The trigger will be executed only when the rules set in the intelligent trigger section matches the visitor's criteria. Excuse me. It's a personalized proactive chat invite that's sent out to the visitor, right? So we talked about this earlier. So with these trigger messages, you can attract customers to your business and you can also make them your prospects, because who doesn't like voluntary help, right? This is pretty much like, a welcome desk in a car showroom. Once you enter the showroom, there's always someone who walks up to you and greets you and asks you what you need help with or which car models you want to look at, right? So the trigger handler works in the same way. Next is the message handler. So this is a process of reactive engagement by the bot. So this handler will be invoked when the bot receives a message from the website visitor. The combination of messages that are received from the website visitor will be analyzed and they'll be stored in the code already, and the bot will then start responding to the visitors based on the questions they received from the available answers. So the best example that can help you relate better is that of a call center. So you call a support center, you tell the representative that you have trouble with something, and then they respond to you with a solution, right? They don't voluntarily call you. So that's also how the message handler functions. Then there's the context handler. So before talking about the context handler, I'd like to tell you about what a context is. A context is a conversational equivalent to a web form. So these web forms are used to collect multiple inputs from the visitor to perform a single action, as all of you know. They're a traditional way of collecting information. Similarly, a context is a definition of a web form that collects multiple inputs in a conversational manner and executes an action, which will be your context handler. Okay, so this can work in association with the message and the trigger handlers. That is, these handlers can return a context instead of a message reply. So I'd like to mention an example that can help you relate to it better. The Google Calendar bot demo that I had showed you in the beginning had a context handler in it. I used the message handler to collect the data such as name, email, location, and date, and then stored it in the context handler that recorded it in turn on my Google Calendar. So following that, we have the failure handler, which gets invoked when actions returned in the other handlers fail to execute. So the input will be the details of the visitor, the cause of the failure, and the previous response for the object due to which the action had failed. So this handler, it will be disabled by default, but if you wish to set up failure responses, you can enable it. So this can be configured in case chats are forwarded to operators when they're offline, or operators are unavailable during business hours, operator email is invalid or inactive in the portal, or the character limit was exceeded in the reply given. Okay, so now we'll start building a basic bot by structuring each handler separately. I want you to know that when you choose the SalesIQ Scripts platform, there'll be a default script inside the builder. When you create a new bot, you can make changes in these scripts, based on your requirements, or you can start building from scratch. It's totally up to you. So we also have a bunch of templates that you can choose from. There are many different templates for different industries, and for your convenience and reference, please note, these are just for your reference. We also have sample codes inside our help documentation. So you can use these as a reference to help you build bots and help you look at how each handler is structured and how cards are used. And, and then you can start building your own Zobot and send it to us for review, right? Okay. So let's start building our Zobot now. So I'm going to be beginning with the trigger handler first, yeah? So the trigger handler maps the visitor object. So the visitor object is a map that contains the profile information of the website visitor. It contains properties like, name, email, browser, country code, etc., etc. So these are the list of all of the values. So to make this easy, I'm just going to be copy pasting the code from inside the trigger handler section in the help doc inside the builder. Okay, and then I'm going to make a few modifications. So let me first rename it. Since I've named my bot Zach, I'm going to change it here. So I'll just ask, can I help you? Okay, so that's a very simple question. And then I'm going to include 2 suggestions to save my visitors the trouble of typing. I'm just going to include yes and no. Okay. And now I'm going to save it. I'm going to click create. Whoops. Whoops. I think there's some problem with the builder. Okay. Let's just wait for that. And let's go back to the message handler. So since the trigger handler is now structured, we will proceed into structuring the message handler where every question that comes in from the visitor side will be handled. Okay. So each handler the visitor object when the handler is invoked. They are the message string and the operation string. So the message string gets the details of all the messages in the conversation. Each text message in the conversation will be considered as a message object. So this is what the message looks like. So don't look at the meta part. The meta part is all about rich text. You can use it if you want to, but for now, let's just focus on the plain text. Yeah. And then we have the operation string, which will get details of all the operations that happen during the chat conversation. This means the chat and the message attributes. So you might be wondering why there are 2 attributes here. The chat attribute is for the first message that comes in from the visitor's side, and the message attribute is for all the subsequent messages that come in from the visitor's side. Okay, so I'm going to be copy pasting the code for the message handler again. Okay, so like you see here, there are 2 different operations, chat and message. I'm going to be making a few modifications to this code here. Okay. So I'm just going to say, don't worry. Help is on the way. Let's just say I'm building this Zobot to be deployed on a training website. All right. So let me add something more. Okay. I'm going to change this and say maybe which areas do you need help with? Okay. So let me just say, since it's a training website, I'm going to be including 3 more suggestions here. Reading. Whoops. My typing is just fumbling right now. Okay. And then we have listening and we have writing. Okay. So these are the 3 options that I have defined for the first reply that is going to be given to the message that comes in from the visitor side. All right. So again, I think there's some problem with the builder. I hope you won't be facing this on your side. Okay. So the next will be structuring the second operation, which is message. So here I'm just going to be changing the text a little bit. Okay. So I'll just say, great. We will be glad to help. Okay. So that's how I'm structuring the response that will come in, the response for questions, the subsequent questions that come in from the visitor side. So this is how you will structure each of the handlers and you'll start building your Zobot. So make sure you check all of the changes that you make inside the script, inside your preview window. The whole point of the preview window is that none of the changes that you make inside your script will be directly reflected on your website. Only when you have completed scripting your entire Zobot and you feel that everything else is working perfectly well, you can proceed forward to publishing the bot, right? So until then, all of the changes can be reviewed inside the preview window itself. So the Zobot not only allows you to use plain text, but also widgets like calendars, articles, URLs, etc. to ease customer experience. For this, we have features called input cards and display cards. So first, input cards. There's a different type of actions used by Zobots to procure inputs from visitors. And some of the most commonly used input cards are calendars, sliders, location widgets, response suggestions, etc. I'll tell you about them. So with response suggestions, options are displayed for the visitor to choose so that they can save themselves the trouble of typing. And then you have calendars that eliminate the need for a personal assistant, and they solve the hassle of scheduling appointments and meetings manually. You can also use range calendars for the same. And then you have feedback widgets like star and happiness rating that can be helpful in interpreting what visitors have to say about your brand. Then you have the location widgets that can be used to offer location-based services to visitors. So display widgets, they help you display rich content that consists of different formats, images, links, etc. So here you have links, articles, and images to assist your visitors with. You have only 3 different options. So links can be used inside SalesIQ Scripts to display URLs so that they can access them along with text and messages. Articles can be used to let visitors access your resources and your FAQs right from the chat window. And then you have images to spice up your chat window a little bit more. They can be displayed along with URLs and articles for visitors to access them. Then we have connections. So connections in SalesIQ Scripts are interfaces that can be used to integrate third-party services with your Zoho service, in this case Zoho SalesIQ. So these connections are used in a URL invocation task to access authenticated data. To establish a connection, it is necessary to provide a connection name and authentication type, etc., among other details. So when you provide these details, it will take care of the authentication and it will establish a safe connection with either Zoho apps or external ones. So in Deluge, there are 4 HTTP methods, get, post, put, and delete, and 3 authentication types, basic, OAuth 1 and OAuth 2, where OAuth 1 and 2 are used to establish the secure access between SalesIQ and other apps. So I'll show you how to set up a connection. Go back to your portal, click on Manage Connections on the bottom left corner, and click Add Connection. So you have a huge list of services that you can connect to. Let me show you how to set up a Google Calendar connection. So I'm going to give my connection a name. And then I'll choose the scope, which is obviously the calendar. And then I'll click on Create and Connect. So once I do that, SalesIQ will ask me for an authentication. So here I can either choose to reuse any of the existing connections or I can create a new account. So I'm going to be reusing one of the connections that I had created earlier. So I'm clicking reuse, and yes, my connection has been established successfully. So when you're creating a connection, I want you to remember something very, very important. So there are 2 parameters that you need to keep in mind. The first one is the connection name. So this is the name that you give to your connection. The second one is the connection link name that is generated by SalesIQ. So once your connection is established, you will see the Deluge code snippet being generated at the bottom of your connection. Here, you will see a connection link name, right? So you need to make sure you replace the connection link name inside the default script with a connection link name that was generated for your connection in order to make your connection work. In case you don't replace the connection link name, I'm just talking about this connection link name in case you are choosing to build a bot that is connecting to an external service to perform an action, okay? So in case you're doing that, if you don't replace the connection link name in the default script, your connection will not work. So make sure you replace it with a connection link name for your connection. So then you have the deploy Zobot option in case you're going to deploy the Zobot for, say you're a consultant and you want to do this for a client. You can get the client's portal name and you can deploy the built Zobot for them. And in case they have any changes that have to be made, they have to come back to you, and that will be like a source of income, constant source of income. So you can do that using the share or deploy bot option. So head over to our developer documentation for more information on the Zobot. Also, don't forget to visit the sample scripts page for more customized scripts. In case of any queries regarding the same, drop us an email at contact@cliqtrix.com. Okay, and start shooting out all your questions, and we'll get back to you in no time. We'll try and answer them as soon as we can, or we'll get back to you by email. You can also post your queries on the announcement channels and the channels for the two different products, Click and Zoho SalesIQ. We'll keep answering them. So it was nice talking to you, and I'm hoping to see you in the next webinar. Thank you, and happy Zoboting.